I'm telling you, you need to hold on to your seats on this one. We really have more robots are coming for real and are here. And I mean, you're not going to believe everything I'm going to be able to tell you here. The robot thing is, believe me, it's going to be the biggest thing you've seen in your lifetime. It'll be bigger than my earliest experience on a big thing was the Boeing 707 that I got to walk through when I was probably, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 years old, maybe a little older. It's going to be bigger than microwave ovens, ballpoint pens, computers, personal computers, email, the internet, the iPhone, and ChatGPT. So anyway, hang on. Let's get into this. This is a robot update. Brett Adcock said in a post on X today, the robot space is moving really fast. Another excellent video from Herbert and Scott interviewing a Singapore-based robotics company that has their manufacturing arm in Shanghai. The speaker was the co-founder and group CEO of Fourier, Fourier, Zen Co, Koh, already has a 10-year track record of supplying robotic medical devices to help with the rehab of arms and hips and legs. So this was a natural transition for them to take what they'd already done in terms of putting exoskeletons on hands or on hips, etc., and then turning it into a full-on humanoid. All right, so here we go. I've got 8 points here. Number one, they've already sold their robots to labs for between $100,000 to $250,000 each. The reason for the high prices is because the expected huge amount of interaction required between the labs and their own staff because of the purposes that these labs are going to be using them for. So they need to charge a lot because of all this time that's going to be taken up after the purchase of the product. So the prices, of course, will be coming down. Number two, they expect to sell 100 bots this year. They sold a bunch last year. They expect to sell 100 bots this year to labs and others. And this other part is really, really interesting. Three, they are seeking app developers to create specific apps for uses that this company doesn't really understand, that the companies that would be making the apps would understand so much better than them. And then they can create an app for a receptionist or for a chef or for somebody to work in shipping and receiving. So all these apps will be developed not by the company. These will be developed by outside suppliers. I think it's a very, very good idea and something people have talked about a little bit as we've been going down this road for the last year and some months, all right? They expect to ship 1,000 bots in 2025. They are setting up a second factory right now. The factory will be set up to be able to do, I think they said 6 bots a day. So 6 bots a day, let's say 300 days, that easily gets them to a couple of thousand. So they're planning to make 1,000 bots in 2025. They know they can make the 100 bots this year. That's not an issue. They've got a little factory all set up for that. It's actually a line, and they're producing these. That would give them revenue probably of over $100 million for their robot division in 2025. Now, they're going to sell these bots, not looks like anyway, so far, they're selling them, not renting them, but I don't know what their eventual plans were. They didn't say in the videos. By the way, I'll put if I remember, I'm sorry, sometimes I forget, I will put the link to the video down below in the description. So they have a backlog, they said, of orders to fill. And they have interest like crazy, all kinds of people lining up to do this. Now, one of the things they said was, which you heard me say on this channel over and over and over again months ago, what they're doing right now is they're taking applications, basically. They're not saying, oh, we'll sell you one, just fill out the form. No, you've got to come in. You actually have to go to the factory in Shanghai, get pre-delivery instructions, learn how to use it, et cetera, et cetera. You have to have an application that makes sense for them. In terms of what you're going to do with it. And again, a lot of these are going to go to companies who are going to build these apps. Number 5, Xi Jinping has visited them and checked out their bot. I don't know, maybe they're doing something right. Number 6, they have about 50 or more bots in their labs right now. They have 50 bots working in their labs right now. Now, okay, let me think about, I'm going to pause here for a second. They've got 50 bots working in their labs. Last year, I got ridiculed for saying that Tesla would have 500 or 1,000 working in their labs by the end of the year. This is a very small company with very limited resources. He said that over and over again. They're having to raise money to continue to build their company. Tesla has unlimited resources, $30 billion in the bank. If they wanted to build 500 bots last year or 1,000 bots last year, they could. I don't know if they did or didn't. I don't know if they've got 50. I don't know if they got 100. I don't know what the numbers are. I just want to let you know that the reasoning, that the supposition, and it wasn't just me. I had lots of experts on the show agreeing with me. Joe Justice and Scott Walters and others all saying, yeah, they should build 1,000 bots and they use those bots to train. And they may have done that, but this is just an example of where a company with limited resources has 50 right now in their labs working on various kinds of training. Okay, and that they're selling them and that they're putting them into situations where they're being trained right now to do useful tasks. They're making their own actuators, and they expect the cost to manufacture their actuators will eventually get down to about 50% of what they have to pay for off-the-shelf products that are not as suited to the purposes as the ones they are making. They talked about the fact that right now the actuators they bought off the shelf, even their first round of actuators that they made, they just didn't stand up under the use. And this is something Scott Walter's been talking about on our show a lot, is that you got to know, these are going to be used 20 hours a day, 24 hours a day. These actuators are going to have to be able to withstand a tremendous amount of use over time. Now, does that mean you can't replace them if you've got some issues? Of course you can, but I'm just saying the actuators need to be really, really good, giving Tesla yet another advantage because they know how to make actuators that are already designed to last. They make them in the cars all the time that have to last for years and years and years and years and hundreds of thousands of miles. Their number 8, their walking speed on this bot is already at 3 miles an hour. And they felt that this is something they should solve first. Get the walking speed down, then get the ability to walk on different surfaces, to go up and down stairs, go up and down ramps, things of that nature. That's what they've started with. So they believe that their bot now has the capability to walk at 3 miles an hour. And I think they're still working to some extent on uneven terrain and whatnot. All right. I'm going to make a prediction that Wednesday, when Scott and I have a conversation about this, he'll have a lot to say, and I'll have a bunch of questions, and I don't know. This is going to be quite a show, I think, on Wednesday. So be prepared for that one. You might want to hit that notify button to make sure that you are reminded. Anyway, that is that story. This is Randy Kirk, by the way. Please also hit the like button. Join Patreon. I could really, really use some more producers. I need some more folks to get behind the show and provide the kind of, it's Academy Awards Day. Producers are important. You can be a producer for $3 a month. $5 would be better and $10 would be better than that. But, come on, be a part of the game. All right. Of course, tomorrow we got Brian and Larry. He'll be on his way. He'll be driving on his way to Texas to watch the Starship launch, but he's promised me he will get into a hotel room and we'll find a way to get Larry to bring in the good news on Monday. All right, let's see. According to, wow, I can't read this. It is Z-Yanji, Z-E, capital Y-A-N-J-I-E. This will be on X. He says, introduce 3D diffusion policy DP3, a simple visual limitation learning algorithm that achieves 50. This is in other words, this is a method of training. It is a visual imitation learning algo that they have developed, and it has 55.3 relative improvement on 72 simulated tasks, most with just 10 demos. So they have 72 simulated tasks. After 10 demos, they had improved it by 55.3%. And then they have an 85% success on 4 real-world tasks that they've developed so far after just 40 demonstration. And the whole thing is being open sourced. So if you want more information on that, that is called 3D Diffusion Policy, DP3. All right, let's see. Then we've got from Alojo, becoming a regular quote here on this channel. I highly recommend you follow him if you're not doing that. A-L-O-J-O-H. All EV startup IPOs except Tesla's. Listen to this now. Every single EV startup IPO, not almost all of them, not most of them, every single other IPO except Tesla have been complete disasters for long-term investors. And now I think we're about to repeat that same thing in the emerging robotics space, he says. And he might be right. I think that there will probably be 100 or 200 or 300 or 500 people getting into the robot space, and a bunch of those will do IPOs, and a bunch of those will be complete disasters. He says the immediate I believe, however, that the immediately accessible market is huge. You don't need a lot of volume on these like you do on cars to break even. So I think there'll be a lot more players that get in with niche plays that are only building 1,000 a year. What did we just say? 1,000 of these at $5,000 a month. You know, it's $5 million a month. So it doesn't take much to turn yourself into a real business. So I think there's going to be a lot of companies that get into the robotics business that do just fine. Now, again, maybe the apps people will do the best of all, the people that build the third-party apps. I took another interesting poll. 70% of the folks that answered the poll see less than a 50% chance of recession this year. And most of those think it's a less than a 25% chance. In fact, only 15% think that there's a greater than 75% chance of a recession. Now, the good news about that particular poll I took would be that most people aren't worried about a recession. So they're thinking about the next year is going to be, the rest of the year is going to be fine. The bad news would be that when everybody's on one side of an issue, there's a rule says that that's a time that you should be wary. So this morning, of course, if you didn't watch it, was that this morning? No, that was yesterday night. I did a list of, I think it was 10 reasons why I think my idea now is 65-35 chance we're going to a recession. If you didn't take a look at that video, you really need to go back and take a look at that. I'll put a card on that one at the end. Okay, Barron's cover tomorrow morning says, bet on the bull. Stocks are poised to keep rising thanks to strong economic growth. Yeah, and when everybody thinks the market's going to go up, same story, second verse. If you saw my discussion with Larry on Saturday morning or my video last night, okay, that's what see, they're same thing. We also had the video with Larry where we're going over what Cathie Wood had to say. Cathie Wood thinks we're going to have a recession. Larry, of course, is 100% certain we may already be in recession. Just saw another headline from yet another source saying that they think we might already be in recession. You know, again, take a look at the 10 things on my list and you can make up your mind and let me know, in the comments, whether you think we're headed that way. All right, from the Kobesi letter, haven't quoted him in a few days. The S&P 500 is officially up 25%, adding 1,000 points since its low October 2023. What is that? It's not even 6 months, 5 months, not even 5 months. This has only happened 10 times dating back to 1930, according to Bank of America. The last 3 times this happened. August 2020. What happened in August of 2020? Oh, July 2009? How about January 1999? However, the Magnificent Seven are currently only up 149% since the run began in December 2022, about 14 months ago. This percentage gain is lower than every bubble dating back to 1930 except for one. History says the Magnificent Seven aren't done yet, but what he leaves out of this analysis, which is why I only like to quote his statistics, not his analyses, is, yeah, but how much room is there left to go? Is this the time to trim? This is not investment advice. But if you've run up that much, what's the rule? All right. Okay, next week, of course, we've got a lot of reports this week. You need to stay tuned to the channel all week long because so many reports. The market is probably going to be all over the place. Who knows what's going to happen as this week comes along. Now, one report that very few people pay attention to, but I pay a lot of attention to, 40% of the U.S. economy is small businesses. 40%. That's where the jobs are created. By far, more than half the jobs are in small business, 40% of the economy. And so what we're getting on Tuesday morning, 6 a.m., so I'll be able to report on that in the Tuesday morning show, the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, Optimism Index. What we've been seeing in that index is that these small business people say, we've got plenty of money, we don't need to borrow, we see no problems with borrowing money in the future, we're all good on that. But there's a whole bunch of, but I want to see if that's still true, because I reported, I think last night, that we saw this other report. Forget who it was. Morgan Stanley, I think, that was saying, no, 66% or 77% of small businesses are worried about getting money. Well, which one's right? So I want to see what the NFIB is saying this month, if that's changed at all. I don't think it's changed, because I think these small business people have been preparing for a recession for a very long time, and they got their finances in place. Plus, I think the aging, I've mentioned this before, the aging of the business owner means these are more conservative owners than you would have 40 years ago when I was a young chap. Anyway, the other thing is the consumer price. So what I'm going to have to get up 2 hours early on Tuesday morning, because not only the NFIB optimism index, which takes a minute to go through and fully understand, but the consumer price index comes out the same morning. So what do we got there? Okay, consumer price index, the street is believing, or the economists that have been polled believe it's going to be, the headline number is going to be up 0.4. compared to last month, 0.3, which was already not a good number, okay? And they think it's gonna be up 0.4. It's hard for me to understand where this is gonna come from. I'll tell you why in a minute. You'll see where I'm going with this. Hang in there, because I'm gonna show you where this is. I don't see how this is possible. It could happen, but I don't even know where the consumer price index could come up with this number. Now then, on core CPI, taking out food and energy, they've got that only going up 0.3%. coming down from 0.4% last month. They don't show the core. I think they need to start showing what's known, maybe that's on the the PCE. Anyway, there's another index, and maybe that's only on the PCE after all. Anyway, all right. So then what are they showing year over year? They're showing that is going to stay steady on the headline number, 3.1%, and it's actually going to go down on the core from 3.9 to 3.7. So we're still not dipping into the twos on any of these numbers. And part of this is showing up. I'll show, anyway, in a couple of seconds, we'll talk about what the trueflation is showing in detail, okay? We've got the monthly federal budget coming out. Are you ready? Last month was a $260 billion deficit. This month, they're saying it's gonna be a $250 billion deficit. You keep doing that month after month, you're at 3 trillion. And so the 3 trillion was the kind of deficit we had the year of the biggest year in the plague years. I don't think it's going to be 3 trillion. It's estimated it's going to be about 1.7, but we're sitting at 250 billion a month now. Is that going to be the new normal? Obviously, there's differences based on time of year and stuff. We'll see what happens. All right, Wednesday, nothing scheduled on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have more exciting fun. We have U.S. retail sales. Okay, they were, my numbers are a little messed up here. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay, so last month they were down 0.8%. Retail sales were down 8%. This month is suggesting, I'm sorry, 0.8%. Don't get excited. But that's even a huge number. Okay, that's a crazy number. This month is predicting that they're going to be up 0.7%. So is this do they think it's just going to be a correction from last month, giving us about a flat for the 2 months? What are they thinking here? Anyway, we'll see what happens. Take out auto. Last month it was up 0.6%, still a huge number. They're saying it's only going to be, I'm sorry, down 0.6%. I'm so sorry. This month they're saying it's going to be up 0.4%. So not as huge as the other number, but still a very substantial, and again, balancing out last month if these turn out to be the real numbers. Then we get the producer price index, and they're saying it's going to be flat at 0.3% month over month. Last month, same thing. We'll see whether that happens or not. But again, producer price index, I would expect that to be closer to like 0.1, 0.0. This is where it was for month after month after month last year. And then only in January did it really, January's numbers, February reporting, did we see it jump up? I'm thinking this should settle back down again. What do they know that I don't? All right, then we got the core PPI last month was 0.6, was huge. Another thing that hurt the market, caused people to go running for the hills when it came to bond prices. Okay, PPI year over year, 0.9. See, that's a good number. And then core PPI year over year, 2.6. I think the Fed would be very happy with a repeat of that. None of those have they got estimates from the economists. Then we have initial jobless claims. Of course, you know it's been ranging between 200 and 220 something. They're predicting 216. Again, they've been so far off. The economists have been nowhere close to right for I don't know, weeks and weeks and weeks. So who knows where it's going to come down. Business inventories. We talked about that again last night in my reporting, also with Larry Saturday morning. Kathy brought it up in a big way. This is a big surprise. They're saying business inventories, which went up 0.4% last month, are expected to go up another 0.3% this month. And business inventories are already at crazy high, very high numbers. And you need to, and one of the things we didn't talk about in any of those shows is those business inventories are part of GDP. So part of the reason GDP has been up so much is that it's sitting in retail stores and wholesale stores and factory warehouses. Not, it shouldn't, I mean, if you back out that high inventory number, what would GDP be without that? So when that starts to come off, it has to come off. These companies are not going to sit on that inventory forever. It gets, the older inventory is, the less it's worth. So people like to move it out. What are they going to have to do to move it out? Class? Yeah, they have to cut prices in order to move it out. All right. They haven't been cutting prices enough in order to get it moved. All right. Then on Friday, it never stops. We get the Empire State Manufacturing Survey last month, down 2.4%. This month down 8%. No, they made a mistake here. It's not me. It's a mistake on marketplace's analysis here. Anyway, it says down 8%. I don't think so. Import price index was up 0.8% last month, which again seemed like a ridiculous number. How can the import price index be going up at a time when China is dying? I placed an order for my product a few days ago to China. Normally it might take 4, 5, 6 weeks to make it. No, they're going to make it now. They're ready to go. All right, import prices index minus fuel. They're saying that is going to be, they didn't give an estimate on that. Last month it was up 0.7%. It just, I'm sorry, it makes no sense. We'll see what happens. It could be right, or it could be just bad reporting. Industrial production was down 0.1% last month. They're saying this month it will be flat, no change, not down, not up. Capacity utilization last month was 78.5. They're saying that's going to go down to 78.4. Obviously, we're looking for 80. That's a good number. This is a bad number. Consumer sentiment will be the last thing for the week, and that'll be last month was 76.9%, and they're saying it's going to go up to 77.5. I doubt that. I really doubt that. That'll be a surprise if it comes in that high. I think the consumer is getting very wary. They are having trouble affording groceries. As you'll see in a minute, the price of food at McDonald's or at fast food or just eating out is continuing up rapidly. There's a lot of articles about it right now. Gasoline prices are going up. Jobs are becoming scarce, more scarce. They're not hard, but we're at 3.9% unemployment, and that's up 0.5%. So I don't think the consumer is going to be that excited. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Hang in here every day, every morning. We'll report on these and let you know what's going on. All right, let me tell you about Truflation. Truflation is at 1.69. That's up a little bit the last few days. I think it was as low as 1.59, but still under 2% for what is today the 10th. So for 39 days in a row, it's been under 2%. Here are the outliers. There's a few outliers. Everything else is pretty good, 2% or less. So outliers include food away from home, as I just mentioned, 3%. Owned dwellings, 5% up. But we know this. We know this about owned dwellings. It's a problem. But lodging, I'm traveling here in late April and through May, most of May, and I'm glad that the lodging prices have dropped 10% year over year. So that's good news. Okay, gasoline is close to becoming a contributor to inflation rather than to disinflation. Very, very close to being in positive. I think it's slightly positive right now, but it would need to get up to 2-3%, above last year. But I think this is one of the things that we might see is impacting the CPI and the PPI. Everything else is at 2% or less. with a few negative numbers. In other words, deflation in a few things, like, for instance, clothing and shoes. Yeah. All right. If you haven't done it yet, now is the time to hit the like button. Wasn't that enough information? Wasn't it valuable? Wasn't it useful? Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit notify, and join Patreon. Of course, we want you to buy some of those Cybertruck bottle openers. Earlier this morning, we had another amazingly fun and interesting video from Cern Basher. He found a dozen or so charts and graphs filled with super interesting economic news and content with good analysis. And I think if you didn't see it already, I think you'll find it worthwhile and helpful. So I'm putting that card up. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put up last night's card and Saturday mornings with Larry Goldberg about Kathy Wood's analysis. I'll put all three of those cards up. Pick a card, any card. Okay, this is Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.